できた？ I'm here where endless meets the end. Do you see me? I'm hidden here again. Your whispers found its way, calling me to stay. I'm standing at the edge, but something always brings me back. All the voices in my head reminding me of what I have. If I fall tonight, you can bring me back to life. If I fall tonight, you can be my saving light. You can be my saving You can be my saving light. You can be my saving You're here like lightning in my veins. Now they see me, and they'll never be the same. Your whispers found its way, calling me to stay.
Mark, and it's time to start our live show. And so tonight I'm going to be working on, let me see if I can get this on here first. Let's see, welcome screen, webcam, there we go. Oh, okay, I think it's working. So tonight we're going to be working on creating this over here. Sort of disorganized tonight, so I apologize for the slight delay in starting, but I think we've got everything together here. Let's see. Okay. So you can't really tell in this image, but I actually have a set, 2.5D set, which is a background for what's going to be underneath our puppets. And our puppets are going to be the 3 small children, and let's see if I can do this. You don't see any reflections. I don't know if that really helps, but it's really simple. It's just flat, and we've got a door here. We've got some windows and little decorations and a family portrait on the wall over here. And this will be on the lower piece of glass on our clay and glass setup. And let me move this over here so I can see what you guys are saying. Put this over here. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely not set up properly tonight. But anyways, so this is our background. And so what I've done is I printed out these little printouts of the character, the mother, and these are at slightly different scales, and I tried to find which one would look best on this background in terms of size. Now the smaller one is probably the one I'm going to use. I think the larger one looks better, but as I've mentioned in previous live shows, our characters are going to be closer to the camera on layers of glass, and so they're not going to sit on the background. They're actually going to sit up a bit. So what I need to do is probably shrink things down a bit, like this one. And so I'll sculpt her at this size. Now I'm going to be sculpting her face and her body, the whole thing. But before, let me see here. So I'm going to make a mold of the face. And let me see. So I've got some yellow clay. I've got some purple clay. It's kind of close in color. I think that the color needs to be a bit lighter. Let's see if I have anything closer to that. Let's see if this is closer. This is a little bit closer, but not quite there. So I might have to mix up some colors as well for her. And so we're going to go with this one. I'm going to throw out this one. Yeah, so anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. I don't know if you guys have been watching our previous videos, but we've got the king character that we worked on, which you can see here. So you can see kind of what this will look like. And you can see the size difference as well. And this is based on the backgrounds that they're going to be on, and how the scale is for the backgrounds and so forth. So none of the characters are all going to be the same size. They're going to be slightly different depending on their shots and the storyboards. So she's a little bit smaller than him, as you can see. Let me see if I can zoom my camera out here for a minute so you can see more of what I'm doing. I think I might have the zoom locked down. So let's go here and configure. Ah, there we go. That should hopefully be better for you guys, so you can see what I'm actually doing. All right, you can see, great. I can always zoom in later if I have to. So let's move him aside. And kind of think about how I want to do this. Alright, so I've got some yellow clay. And this is some really old Van Aken clay from Michael's Craft Stores when they were selling it for, it looks like, $2.89. Old clay is really great to keep because if you throw it away when it separates like this, it seems kind of gunky, but the clay actually gets better over time. And Van Aken, a lot of people are complaining about it because it seems as though the formula has changed. They've changed the formula, and it's not working as nicely as it used to. I guess it's more crumbly and just not great for animation purposes anymore. That's the word on the street. I still have a lot of old stuff, so I haven't used much of the newer. But that's something to think about if you buy some, or if you're thinking of making a film in the future, or lots of films, you should buy up a lot of clay and just let it sit in your garage or your basement or in a box under your bed for, a few years. And it should hopefully get better over time. Let's see. So I think that the color... This color, I don't really like that color. I'm gonna go grab some clay, the proper color for her clothing in the garage. Hey Ethan, how are you doing? I will be right back. Okay, so I've got some clay. That's a little bit closer in color to what I want. It's actually in between these two colors here. So I might mix these up just a little bit. And let's see here. So this is the magenta. It's been in a box for a long time, and it's like the oils kind of leach out of the box, or the plastic. I don't know if the oil actually goes through the plastic or what, but it turns kind of gross if it's been sitting there for a while. But let's open it up. Hey Gatling P. And Ethan, you say you always say Fantasia 2000 all the time. Is that some sort of do you think this is like some sort of Fantasia film, or is that something that you like, or? Hey Janet. And I noticed with Ethan, he always says Fantasia 2000. Or is that like a greeting? Yeah, this is magenta, and as you can see, it's really hard to open up these old packs. This pack of clay has got to be at least 8 years old for sure. I realize it's kind of unexciting to open up a pack of clay on camera, but it's all part of the process. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's a Disney film. Alright, so here's our magenta. I'll get rid of this stuff here. Throw it away. Yeah, do you like the Fantasia film? That was a breakthrough in animation at the time. It's really old, but I think that's one of the more famous films. Okay, so cut up some clay. So I only need to darken this clay just a little bit. And I think that this color would work pretty well to do that. So what I'm going to do is just by hand, I'm going to kind of mix these together a bit. And then I have a pasta roller machine that'll roll it through and get the colors to blend really well. South Park, bigger, longer, uncut. I'm not sure if I've seen that one. Is it pretty good? It's probably pretty funny. South Park's a pretty funny film. Or cartoons. Alright, so that's definitely going to work. Clean my pasta machine here. So most likely what I'll do with this character is she's going to have different poses and things like that. For animating, I'm going to have to probably make a body which is kind of to the left and to the right. And also the face, I'll have to make replacement faces which are going to be left and right as well. So when I sculpt this, I might have to sketch in the computer what it might look like if she's looking to one direction. I might do that, or I might just do it by hand, you know, look at the sculpture and see how it looks. So I rolled it through the pasta roller, and you can see it's pretty close in color now. So I'm going to mix it up all together. Yeah. Yeah, South Park, I guess maybe it is R-rated, I'm not sure. Okay, that's pretty good, I think. Now that it's rolled out, I can actually lay our character on top of the clay and trace an outline as well. So the question is, you know, am I going to make the head separate or connected to the body? I think for animation purposes, I'll probably make these two separate. And so with the body, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this part up a little bit. So when I make just the body piece, the head can move up and down and still appear to be connected. If I were to follow this curve here, where her neckline is, and I move her head upwards or downwards, like some squash and stretch or something, you wouldn't see anything behind there, and it would be hard to make that look nice. Her head would become detached, and I don't want that, so I'm just going to scribe over this. Get the body shape. Like this. Alright, let me scroll up here. I can see someone asked a question. I think my son's gonna come in here in a minute, so he just got back from his cousins and I'll have to tell him I have a live show. Alright. Hear him.
Do you have any juice?
Nope, I don't. And I'm doing a live show, okay? Okay. So, let's see. So Janet is asking, I don't know how promo my petition to Disney. Mark, any tips? Oh, man. So you have a petition for Disney? What's the petition for? I don't know. Is it like a complaint or something? Or is it... Does it have something to do with... You have to let me know. Pingu? Pingu's... Yeah, that's a pretty cool show. The little penguin. Alright, so I'm just kind of laying clay on here on our character. And I want the shape to be somewhat round. So it appears to have... you know, it's a relief sculpture, so you want it to look sort of like... there's some form there. Form, even though it's flat. Move my mic over here too. So you guys can hear me. So this is one of the main characters in our film, and so this most likely I'll use this actual sculpture for a lot of shots, and I may end up you know, making a few of these, and I can either do that by making a silicone mold, and the kind of silicone that I'm using is Rebound 25, and this is some stuff that from one of my clients for his projects, but I've got some in the garage, some extra, which I'll be using for these 2.5D characters. But Rebound 25 works really well, and it's pretty inexpensive, you know, in terms of for something like this, you know, it's inexpensive because these are really small characters. If you're going to buy a lot of it, it can be expensive, but I think I paid like maybe somewhere around $30 for it. Oh, Slavic Princess. Well, Janet, what I can tell you about that is if you're going to like complain to Disney about something like a you know, an ethnic thing or anything like that, or you mean you want to or do you mean that you want to have them make the story, like a story about the princess? I know you told me about that once, that you want them to like maybe tell the story, I think. Am I right? Okay, so and as usual, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some of my alcohol. This is 70%, which 70% is not really the greatest to use for smoothing clay. You should get the, I think it's like 90%. But just going to put some in my little egg here. And you can use mineral oil for this too. That's the traditional way to sculpt with this oil-based clay that I've learned. And I actually prefer to use mineral oil, but this works pretty good too. What I like about using the alcohol is that you can smooth the clay, but it doesn't absorb into the clay and make it mushy. It evaporates, really quick. I'm just going to go over the whole thing here and just kind of... See, this is 70%. It's not really melting it as nice as I would like. So it requires a little bit more work to smooth out, but it looks pretty good if you spend the time. Oops. So as it evaporates, it's not as slick, and your fingers can kind of grab the clay and pull it around and make it nicer. So I think this looks pretty good. One of the things that I learned from one of my former sculpting jobs, forget if it was Bill Turner from Natoli or if it was Dennis, who I worked with, one of the sculptors. But you can actually use your finger. If you go over your sculpture really slowly, you can feel if there's imperfections in there, like little hills and valleys, and just by going over it slowly, you can feel those high spots, and you can push them down with your finger or spend more time smoothing your clay that way. And you'll get a smoother sculpture just by using the feel of of your touch with your fingers. Not a lot of people really do that that I know of, but it helps. Mainly on flat surfaces like this, large flat surfaces. So maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit for you guys to see things better. Let me do that. Let's see how this looks. Soup. Okay. Kind of center things a little bit. Alright, so we got my alcohol. We got our sculpture. Okay, let me scroll up just a bit here. I know you guys are writing stuff. And Ethan, if you can, please don't. I'm trying to read comments, so please don't spam. Hey Ron, welcome to the show. And so Joe is asking, hey Mark, I have a question about the current 5-week challenge. So here it is. The theme is magic, and does that mean the magic, for the example, for the magic word like light, can be added digitally in Photoshop? Well, okay. Anytime you see a theme for our 5-week challenges, the theme is up to you to determine what it is. It's open to interpretation. So really, anything you want to do is fair game, but the actual theme or the subject matter of the of your film or your experiments or whatever you want to make has to just be magic, around that theme. So maybe a magician or a wizard casting a spell, or a witch does something and makes a bat out of a princess or something like that. That kind of a thing. Not the actual technology with Photoshop and those sorts of things. So Ethan, yeah, please don't post nonsense, because if you do, I'm going to mute you, and I don't want to have to do that, okay? So now, so I'm going to kind of lay this back over our sculpture. And the cool part about this is that you can just, you know, always use it to, see if that's lined up there. To describe your lines on your sculpture. So that way your accuracy is a little bit better that way. Let me use a sharper tool. Now the color of her apron is intentionally not pure white. When you're working in clay or making puppets or sets or anything else, you need to consider how light will bounce off of your... I don't actually need to do that on this one here. How light will bounce off of your characters. And generally, white tends to create problems because... Make sure this is nice. There we go. It's one of my sculpting tools that I made from a dental pick by sort of sanding, cutting off the edge here on this dental pick and making it nice and round and then sanding it. And I use that to scribe lines. It's kind of convenient to do. But the color white can be a problem. Like, let me see, I have a, this is white plaster. You know, white plaster of Paris. I have an ear I sculpted. And it's kind of, you know, similar to the paper, of course. But if I were to throw a lot of light on this, it would wash out all the other colors and make any colors around it appear darker. So those are things you want to think about when you're making a character. You don't want to use straight white pretty much ever, even on eyeballs. So Ron is saying, so if the topic were force, it could be someone pushing a boulder or a Jedi using the force to levitate something. The meaning is up to you. Yep, exactly. That's exactly correct. Alright, so let's see. I think I will scribe her this line where her apron goes. It's also kind of got some wrinkles in her clothing, which I'll use a regular sculpting tool with, or for. Here. Okay, so she's not so flat. Give her some texture. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Ethan, please stop, because I'm gonna block you. Don't post a lot of nonsense. So Janet says they do Latin, Elena, French, Bella, Aurora, Cinderella, and then Germany. Ah, okay. So why not Slavic princesses? I see. All right. Sorry, Ethan. You can post here, but if you're not gonna listen to me, I gotta block you. Sorry. Okay, that's the first time I've ever had to do that to anybody. I know Ethan's pretty young, and I'm sorry to do that, Ethan, but you gotta listen. So yeah, if you're wanting to like petition Disney to do that, wow, I guess who would you write? That is the question. Who do you write about that? So you just want them to like maybe cover a story about that. I suppose that I don't think that they aren't doing that because they don't appreciate Slavic princesses or anything like that. You know, I don't think that they have an intention to like ignore that area of the world or anything. But I think if you're nice about it, maybe you could. Who would you write? I mean, they're a giant corporation. I think it would be difficult to get them to listen to anything that you say, to be honest. If you want my opinion, it's going to be really hard to find someone that will lend an ear to your grievance there. Alright, so I've got some of this clay that I've mixed up, and I believe this is the clay I mixed up for the king's white elements, so it's somewhat of an off-white, almost like a gray color. And so I'm going to kind of flatten this out, and I'm going to run it through my pasta machine and make it a little bit thin so I can make it go far away. Let's see, maybe higher setting, hoping that no other colors bleed onto it. Alright, it's still a little bit too thick, so let's make it thinner. Okay, now we've got a fairly flat piece of this color. So what I can do again is to I think this is a good clean spot here. Lay this on here. So Omar, you're asking, are there any other on-camera problem tips like the one you said concerning the white? With regards to, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to know about cameras. Like I just learned that the camera that I have, there's a setting that there's like this peripheral, on the Canon 60D, there's like a setting for peripheral lighting adjustments that are automatic in that camera. And so like each camera itself has settings that you need to really learn to get a great, the greatest image you can. And I thought I knew all the settings on that camera, and just recently learned that I don't. So each camera, if you can learn about the settings, stopmotionanimation.com was one of the places where somebody posted hints about that. Sometimes they post on our forums as well, some good tips. Like I know Ron does with the silicone, which I won't be buying. What is it, Umu silicone? I won't be buying that one for sure. Thanks to Ron's advice. But I mean, if you're asking like tips for when you're making just the puppets and sets, yeah, just avoid like really super bright colors. You want to sort of mute the colors a little bit. Like for example, this here is yellow, and this is yellow, but this one's more muted. As you can even see it probably in the camera here, which one looks more washed out. So the details on this one will be kind of hidden because of its brightness. It's so vivid. Whereas this one, when you sculpt on it, you'll see more details. It won't get washed out under a bright light. So really any other, bright colors, you would just want to kind of tone them down a bit. Make them so that the camera can see the details in there under different lighting conditions. I mean, there's times you'll want characters to be washed out, like for example in an explosion or something. It would the light would be bright for a few frames, and of course you'd want those frames to be washed out. But in general, you would probably want to make sure you can see or the people that are watching can see the details. That would be especially true for the characters' faces. And you can know just by shooting some tests. You know, if your lighting is a certain way, you could get away with those brighter colors. You know, like if you have dimmer lighting, you can definitely get away with it. But if your character will be inside and outside and in different environments, you have to consider all those environments and think ahead of time, like what your characters will end up looking like in those different places. Let me see here. Let me see. Ron says, I was desperate for an idea for what to animate my K2SO action figure doing, and I was stumped. I had a brainstorm tonight. I want to make him dance and make it classy, like Gregor Hines. Cool. That would be cool. He's an awesome character. He's one of my favorite robots now in the Star Wars films. So much so that, you know, I kind of want to make one. I want to 3D print one, or, you know, full size. And alright. This tool here I used for silicone recently on a mold I made, so I've got like this thin coating of silicone on here. Alright, I'm just going to use this tool here. This will work. Alright, so I got the apron. I'm going to lay it on her like this. And will it make it across? It won't, so I'll have to stretch out the sides a little bit. That. Okay. That should be alright, I think. Oops. Maybe I could even like curl the edge here just a bit. Apron. Give it that much more depth. So Janet says, but when people talk about Sophia, the first is the Latin. They create Elena because they see people want to see this culture. Sure. Anytime people learn about something new, they want to know more about it. That's true. Definitely true. So Ron says, I liked BB-8, but he's got nothing on K2SO. And Michael asks, so how long you make those stop motion films? Well, since I was about 14, I think, was the first time I tried to make stop motion films. Some of my first animation I've never even seen because I used an old 8mm camera and I animated with it and never developed the film. I was young and didn't know how to do it, and so it's kind of lost to history. But my first animation experiences, I never saw my animation. It's pretty sad. And then let's see, Mike McKinney. Mike McKinney was someone that I met. He was an animator at Will Vinton's. I think I met him when I was about 19 years old. So I'm 42 now. Or gonna be 42, yeah, in July. So for a long time. I don't have a really super extensive library of stop motion. that I show the public. A lot of it is just stuff that I did that's, really garbage when I was younger. And so I don't really post it all. But my last film was the short film Zombie Pirate Tales. It's just more like a preview of what it could be like if I had, a large budget and could make a series of films. And so I had like a large ship set, and I had several characters in there. And, I learned so much more after making that. I learned like kind of what not to do. And I wouldn't make the film the same way today. I would definitely go with better armatures, maybe silicone for the bodies, because I really wanted to animate something really fun on that. And the armature that I made a foam latex puppet, and one of my former friends cast the latex, and in doing so, the heat caused the epoxy that I used to hold the parts together to weaken, and so my armature was not strong enough for what I was trying to do. So I was really limited on what I could animate on that, and so I have kind of regrets about, the quality of the film. So I didn't really, after a while, I just, decided I'm going to just quickly animate everything as best as I can with what I have or what I had built, and then move on, because the armatures were really not the greatest, unfortunately. Let's see here. I wish that the chat here would be longer, because I can't. Let me see if I can pop out chat. There we go. Maybe I can read all your posts this way. Oop. Oh, that's better. I can make a long list now. Alright, so Ethan, let me see. I think I'll unblock Ethan here. Let's see. I'm unblocking you, but please don't spam, okay? So Janet says, but when people talk, okay, I read it right. Yeah, I think, Janet, that's something that I would not really be upset by that. I don't think they're excluding anybody, or saying anything bad about that part of the world or anything like that. I mean, I've been to the Philippines, and you could say the same thing about the Philippines. And the people there are really nice. They're just, everybody pretty much is nice everywhere in the world. There's nice people. It's always bad people, but they're everywhere also. Okay, so we're going to make some arms here. Simple arms. Kind of leave a little extra room for her hands to sit on top of this clay here. I'm going to do the yellow parts last. So I'm going to make this part here for her head. Sort of her, what do you call that? So let's see here. So Omar says, I remember someone telling me to lightly paint the details, like wrinkles in the apron. Yeah, you could actually, you don't actually have to use paint. One of the things that I know Clay Mara watches these, and one of the things that she would always do is to take like the same color of clay as the apron, and then mix in some like white or other colors, and then you can You can literally, you know, paint with the clay itself with lighter colors. It's kind of cool. I plan to do that with the king's crown before I animate him. I'm going to be putting some little details with a darker colored orange in there. So Ron says, let me see here. Oh, okay. So you're making like cartoon comic strips, Michael? When you were a kid? That's cool. And Ron is saying, I shot my first animation with a friend in high school, but I haven't seen it since he moved away to California at the end of school. It was his camera equipment, and it was impossible to make copies then. Ah. Yeah, you know, I had a friend too that had one of like the first cameras that you could shoot stop motion with that was digital. I don't remember the name of it. It was really cool because you could put in like a cassette tape, I think. It wasn't like a memory stick back then, but it had these like flying, what do you call them? Flying eraser heads or something. Where I think that was the technology, like where the head of the recorder is always spinning, and you could record individual frames of animation on it and play it back. That was like the ultimate. All right, are we back? Let's see. All right, I'm assuming I've reconnected here. I'm assuming. I apologize for that. My internet crashed. And now. Okay. Yeah, I think we're working again. Okay. Well, let's see. It's reloading. My screen is reloading and my chat is coming back up. So, yeah, alright. I apologize for that. Let me pop the chat out again. Yeah, I had to wait for it to come back on. This is very frustrating. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's get back to what we were doing now that the internet's back up. And so, what were you guys asking now? Yeah, must have been Ethan. He crashed our servers on YouTube. He's evil. Alright, well anyway, I'm going to get back to sculpting this here. So, now I'm going to work on the scarf that she's wearing on her head. I guess it's a scarf, not really too sure. This won't be too difficult to do. It's actually a simple character, which is perfect for animation purposes, because anytime I need to make like replacement heads for this, all I had to do is mix up some clay, and there's not a lot of detail in the head, so it's like I can do squash and stretch. Very simple. So Janet says she's 23 and sometimes feels too old to start anything with animation, but she loves cartoons. Yeah, well, you're actually pretty young. I mean, you still have at least three times your current lifespan left. Maybe longer. I recently read that they're creating these these drugs that reverse aging now, which is kind of cool. So who knows, they might have a drug one day where you just don't get old anymore. And that's what they're working on. And Radio Guy says, also to everyone else out there, doesn't the art style for these puppets remind you of South Park? Yep, you know, they used to use paper cutouts. I think the first South Park animations were done with paper and like felt paper or something like that. I can't remember what kind, or maybe just construction paper. Super simple and very flat, of course, all flat. But these characters are technically emoji characters. Emojis with bodies. And I know there was like a feature film out there about emojis right now, but this is definitely better than that for sure. Says me, but yeah, technically emojis. Let's see now. I think I need to use a loop tool on this. Which tool? Maybe this little one. Let's go here. Just want to define this edge where her clay face will be. And this part is. Give it some form. All right. So how many we got here? 8 people. Okay. Yeah, I think I lost some of my viewers when the internet crashed, but hopefully they will come back. Hopefully. Yeah, so anyway, maybe I'll just tell you guys. See, where is that tool? I went, we got a metal detector from a local shop. And so on the weekends, me and my family will go to the park and try to find, like, you know, gold rings or silver, and, you know, who knows what you'll find out there. And so what did I find? And this is what I found. Sculpting tool. It's actually like a, it's kind of similar to the tool that I use, which is this one, my dental pick. And I think it's for picking nuts out of the shells, you know. But looks like a sculpting tool to me, right? So, yeah, I got a free sculpting tool, metal detecting. And then I found this. The James and the Giant Peach card of some sort from Disney, you know. You can see here, Disney Charades. So speaking of Disney, Janet, it's one of their films. I guess, yeah. Technically a Disney film. James and the Giant Peach. Sadly, didn't do well at the box office. And I guess that would have been Henry Selick's first feature after Nightmare Before Christmas. I think it was. Was it his, or was it Monkey Bone that came after that? I'm trying to remember. Henry Selick, I think probably his more popular films would have been when he directed Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas. He really, in terms of technology, has pushed the limits for animators, and with the bigger budgets that they've had, we're able to really create some awesome, you know, stuff with 3D printing and motion capture. And one of Henry Selick's what he's kind of known for is pushing the boundaries on having motion control on cameras. I think Nightmare Before Christmas, they didn't lock their cameras down on very many shots. Well, they did, but a lot of shots, you know, the camera's constantly moving around, and that in itself is extremely hard to do. But Henry Selick was like, I don't care if it's hard, let's do it. And now, that's, you know, if you look at Leica, all their camera moves are done with, you know, drag and frame and stepper motors and rigs and stuff. There's really no going back once you've kind of crossed into that territory, because the audiences will think that that needs to be part of every film from now on. You know, so once you make a Hollywood film like that, it's going to be there pretty much always in future projects. So he really pushed the boundaries, but he's not really as well respected as you might think. You know, a lot of people say things about him, negative things, but I think he's just really a perfectionist. Oh, okay, you have one of these, Ron? One of these tools? Yep. And it's got this kind of textured edge on there, so you could roll it on the clay, you know? Kind of get like this interesting pattern on your clay. Like that. I don't know if that shows up. Let me see. Probably doesn't show up on the camera. But you can get like a textured pattern. It's pretty nice. And Ron says, my son and I found a large metal box with a metal detector which someone had apparently buried. It took a long time to dig up, and we were really excited about finding out what was in it. It was a dead cat. Oh no. Not what you were expecting. It sounds like it sounds like a famous quantum physics experiment called Schrodinger's cat, where they hypothesize if you put a cat in a box, is it alive? Is it dead? You can look it up on Google. Schrodinger's cat. It's like a famous famous thing where it's like a paradox of science. Okay, so we got her head, and there's one thing I didn't think of, and I think I'm gonna do, going to make the head just slightly smaller by cutting around the edge. Let's see here, maybe I should make an outline first with my X-Acto knife. I'm gonna make it just a percentage smaller because it'll be closer to the camera and it will appear larger. So make a slightly even edge around everything here and then cut it off. Like this. Take it down. And Radio Guy asks, hey Mark, you ever worked on a 2D animated film, or rather interested in making one? Yep, I've worked on one. It was the Henry Cycle TV special, which I think it only aired in like South America or someplace like that. And it was a hybrid 2D film with 3D backgrounds, and I made the backgrounds, or I didn't make all of them, but I helped to make them, with Mike Rosinski at John Lemon Films. And there was David Lauter, Lawter, David Lauter. He's one of my friends, and he he always aspired to work at Disney and whatnot, but that's when Disney was downsizing, and he ended up working for John Lemon Films, and also working in like this laser light animation show that he would animate stuff on 2D on paper, and they would translate it into lines on a big like IMAX screen with lasers and stuff. It was kind of cool. He used to send me free tickets to that, but I worked on it, and they taught me how to do 2D animations, and all on paper with pencils, and then it was the first time in history where you could get software as like a studio and scan your images that you've done in a drawn in a scanner, and put the frames together one by one and color them in the computer. And they used to hire some people for that, that they could color each of the frames and so forth. And then they put the backgrounds, they took still images and digitized them, and they put them in the computer, and put them behind the characters, which they colored and inked in, like put the actual black lines, and they use Xerox machines and stuff too, similarly to like 101 Dalmatians, where what they did is they used like a Xerox machine, and it speeds up the process. There's a lot less time spent on trying to draw in all the. So instead of like doing your animation on a cell and then using a fine pencil and drawing nice solid lines, and then going to the ink department and then translating that into ink, and then turning the cell over and then painting behind it and everything, they would just Xerox it. I believe they just Xeroxed everything and then scanned the Xerox in the computer and then painted it in there. So I've got all the purple stuff here, all the purple parts I need for this character. Now I got to go to the my pack of yellow here and rip out the clay and work on that. And I'm going to save these colors, put them to the side that I have, and this will be used later. So I'm going to have to mix up a bunch of this clay here for this puppet, because I'll have many replacement parts to make. So let's see here. We got black for the eyeballs. Got some red somewhere. Let me see. Some puppet putty. Alright, let me clean my hands here first. But anyway, to answer your question, Radio, I mean, I'm not really interested in making a 2D film for anybody or anything like that, I'm more of a clay person and stop motion. I'm not so much into actually drawing. I mean, I'm not really good at it, so hence the reason why these characters are very simple. Yeah. I found my first piece of silver last weekend at a park. Actual silver pendant of an elephant. Really small, probably not worth more than 50 cents or something like that. But it's kind of cool to find. You're like, yay, I found a precious metal. One day I'm gonna be rich. That will never happen, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun to try. Alright, so I've got my pastel yellow that I'm opening up to the side here. And I want to cut a piece off, but I'm going to have to clean this first. My tool, which has silicone on it. Whenever you work with clay, there's a lot of cleaning of your hands and your tools, things like that. constantly. If I had a chunk of used and cured silicone on my character, it won't look very nice. So gotta get that off there. Alright. And so Janet says, I'm always sad when I watched biographic movies about big animators and they say that they were kids, they want to make movies. Oh. Yep. I mean, if you're a kid and you're into animation, you know, there's ups and downs to it. It's not easy. And when I say easy, I mean, like, most people aspire to work in a big studio, make lots of money, have job security, always, being creative and never having breaks in between. And to be honest, it doesn't work that way. And a lot of people get pretty sad when they realize that. Because it seems unfair, but it's a business, and unfortunately, it's never. I mean, so many people have tried to figure out how to make money at it, and the best way that I know of is through the internet with Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Patreon, and trying to build a name for yourself on the internet, and just having a large amount of people that like you as a person and also like your work. You know, it's kind of a interesting thing. Like, if you look at YouTube videos and you try to see who's famous and who's not, the people that devote a lot of time to their craft, like making YouTube videos and all, and they make them high quality, and they always, have a nice personality and all that. And if you're a woman, if you have big boobs, that always helps. Like, certain people exploit things like that too, so you have good looks, good personality, tell good stories, whatever. But if you're going to focus not on that kind of stuff, but focus on making good films, it's difficult because most people, they will get tired of waiting for you to finish it because it takes so long. You can see just, during my live show here, how long it's taking me to sculpt these things. And let me do something here so you guys can see what I'm doing. It takes a long time, and people get tired of just waiting. So you have to fill in the in-between time with some kind of information or videos or blog posts, things like that. You have to entertain people. They want to be entertained. They don't just want to wait for you. So that's just a sad reality. And sometimes you have to really be creative in how you're going to spend, fill up people's time with your information. That's really what it comes down to. You're filling up people's time, and if you can do that and you get good at it, you can make it in animation, I believe. Like, I think Justin Rash is someone that you could study up on. I know he's had, Kickstarters and campaigns where he's raised funds for, like, Gerald's Last Day, which was a really cool film, stop motion film. And he kind of brings you in his life by sharing what he does, and does it in a positive way, nothing negative, right? He's always positive. And what are some of the other things? Works hard, so positivity, working hard, getting your name out there, getting your work out there, and just doing as good a job as you can every step of the way. And if you do that, you can, people will like you, and they'll be interested in your projects, and they will give you money through donations if you ask for it, if they like you. It's really a people skill kind of thing. You have to really be honest. You can't be like trying to scam people or saying you're gonna do something and not do it. I mean, it took me how many years? It took me like 10 years to finish my last film, and I was devoted to finishing it. But I couldn't finish it quickly because I didn't have a lot of people helping me with it. And the other problem is that I had real life things, like I got married, I had a kid. My mom died, and so, and then my wife's mother passed away, and so real life got in the way of me trying to finish my film. But I made sure I finished it because people donated. So you want to make sure that you do not make a promise and don't fulfill it. You can't do that. So for you beginner animators out there, that's something you need to really consider, is that you need to take it, if you want to make it, you gotta take it seriously. And if you have fun doing it, people will enjoy it. That's all part of it. Just do the best you can. And then if you want to get a job in a studio, it's some of the similar there's some similar things that apply, like having a good personality, being even-tempered, not being too emotional. That's another thing you gotta think about. Don't be someone that's a cog in the wheel. Don't be complaining about stuff all the time, unless it's legitimate. But if like your animator friend ate your box of chocolate chip cookies, you don't want to go to your director and complain. They stole my cookies. You gotta be mature. You gotta be grown up. Act like an adult. I know it sounds basic, but that's something that a lot of people, they don't really consider. As silly as that might seem. Alright, so let's see here. So Radio says, you're right. I mean, I'm a kid and I already have a grand masterpiece already set for the year 2038. It's hard, mostly the part where I mix 2D and stop motion. I have doubts about finishing the film. Okay. I'll tell you that was, you sound just like I was when I was younger. And I had dreams of starting a studio, hiring lots of people. I had a film planned out to make, and I storyboarded it. And I still had the storyboards and stuff. And it was like a 24-minute long film, and I was going to do it all, for the most part, myself. And if I could hire people, I would. I'd try to get a budget and stuff. And I realized that you can't do it alone. That's the first thing. If you think you can do it alone, you really can't. You can do it alone, but it will take forever, and you'll feel kind of frustrated. So if you can get people to help, go for it. And if not, do everything simple. So like with this film, all my characters are very basic. I don't have a budget, so I have real life things to tend to on the side, like making money and all. Like everybody else. So I can't devote 100% of my time to this. And let's see here. Move this towards me a bit. Put this down. So I can't devote 100% of my time on this. And so I'm just kind of making sure I don't overly complexify things. There's a hand. So you can do it, just make sure it's not too complicated, you know. So if you got a lot of stop motion and lots of puppets and all that, I would try to trim down the amount of puppets you make, and also make your sets as basic as you can to tell your story. Like, focus on the story and not so much on how awesome it looks. You know, because you can make something really awesome, but it takes forever. Like, you know, making a puppet that's really complicated and stuff. And Ron says there was an entire decade when everyone thought stop motion was completely dead. I remained an artist all the way through that, but I also spent that decade raising my son as my main life focus. Yeah. And that's kind of the way to go. Let's see here. So, need to figure out where to put her eyeballs here. That's my tool. It's like there. Does it work? Yeah, real life always gets in the way, and you know, if you need to make money, you got to get a regular job or start a business that, you know, is actually bringing in enough money to survive on. And then in your spare time, just try to do stuff like this, you know, because it doesn't have to necessarily be something that you're making millions of dollars at it or anything like that, you know. Which of course would be nice, but you gotta be realistic. And start small, you know, start small and then aim big if stuff starts to look positive. So if you make a short film and you get a big audience on YouTube, try getting like a Patreon account. And if you want to make films on YouTube, make sure that they're short and funny, you know, or just, you know, tell a story quickly. And then try to be efficient about it. Reuse your puppets or your sets if you build them, so that you're not constantly making fresh new stuff all the time. That's one way. You know, kind of like a modular set. Like if you can build modular things that are you can rearrange differently for every film, you know, that's like kind of a strategy you could use. And then instead of like painting your set, you can use lighting instead, or you know, paint the walls with light so it always has a different look, you know. Or use digital backgrounds, like use your characters in front of green screen, but then find images on Google to use as your background, for example. I think the mouth might be too low here. Let's see. No, it's not. And then Ron says, I survived by being able to use the same skills to do other things for money. Like right now, I'm making an action figure for someone. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a smart thing too, you know. Branch out if you can sculpt in different people. Market your skills as a sculptor. Oops. I think that's too thick. Yep, too thick. Yeah, there's always ways to make money, but try not to throw everything away for stop motion. If you have a good job or something like that, you know, don't quit and just say, I'm gonna be a full-time stop motion animator. Just make sure you have something to fall back on in case of bad times, because you always have to sort of think about what would happen if you lose your freelance job tomorrow. You're in a new city, you move to a new city or something like that, and where do you go? What do you do? Do you have insurance? You know, stuff like that too. Like, do you have dental insurance? Do you have bills to pay? It's going to happen if you lose it. So, unfortunately, that's what most freelance artists have to think about all the time. So, Janet says, when I was a kid, my parents always said to me, be it and you can earn a lot of money. So I do everything in school to be it, but in last few years, animation is magnetic. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, it's not expensive to get into animation anymore. You can get a simple web camera like this one and get some software. Most of the times it's for free. There's applications for phones that are free for stop motion, and let's see here. So making a film, there's really no excuse why you can't make one. Basically, it's everything is pretty much available, but you have to have a good story. You know, the story has to be and I never really put a lot of emphasis into stories when I was younger. I just kind of made stuff that I thought would look cool or be fun or funny. But now I think story is really where that's the important part. Right. Ron says, I learned that there's never a reason to quit. You can always come back. If you're a creative person, you'll always be creative. Yep. Yeah, I could not live without being creative. It's like a life purpose or something. I had to create stuff. Alright, so kind of sculpting in the face here, getting some cheeks, dimples. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but yeah, the face here is pretty simple, but you want to make sure it looks pretty good, and right now I'm not 100% happy with it, so okay. Not sure about the face. Where is my smoothing brush? There it is. And how clean is this brush, I wonder? Not very clean. So I have some alcohol here, and I'm trying to clean this brush, which I have sculpted with. And one of the ways I usually do that is I'll take it and I'll put alcohol on the bristles, and take another tool like this and press and sort of scrape everything like that. end, you'll see it gets all the clay pretty much out of the bristles. But if they're really in there, you gotta scrape for a bit. Especially if you're going from a lighter color to a darker color. You want to make sure it's as clean as you can get it. And sometimes it just, that clay really gets in there and it's hard to get out. I was smoothing out some of this like green colored clay with it, and it's really gross looking. Let's see how this is on the back. If it's gonna leave any residue. No, that's pretty good. Okay. So I'm just gonna take my bristle brush and get in here and kind of smooth it up a bit. Let me see something here. We got chat. I don't see my chat on my screen, so I'm gonna see if I could bring it back. Alright, the chat works now. I don't know why the chat disappeared before. I guess when the internet crashed, that's why. Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty bad broadcast watching the recording. At least I read off everybody's comments. Okay. So here's the face, and alright, let's see if I can make this look nice now. Give her a little smile. Yeah, luckily when I used to use live stream, if something like this happened, I would always have to restart the show. But it's pretty forgiving with it's called Open Broadcast Software, I think it's called, OBS. And yeah, it works pretty good. Okay, well, I'm not sure if I like these cheeks 100%. What can I do here? Need to make this look nice. There we go. Yeah, see, female faces, even though it's a simple character, shoot. Just gave her a smudge of that green color. Get that off there. Female faces are really subtle. I don't want to have a lot of details in here. And also, my fingers are just a little bit dirty, so the face kind of comes across as not very clean. Luckily, I'll be making a mold of this to cast later on when the time comes. So all the little dirty stuff will not show up, but how to make it look nice is the question. See how that looks there. Okay. So I think Ethan left. I think when I unbanned him, or when I banned him, he took off. I hate banning people, you know, but can't be spamming either. Alright, so this isn't so bad, I guess. Kind of got the basic shapes in there. There's her cheeks. Gonna smooth all this out in here. So it's subtle. If you have a female face and you have like a lot of wrinkles and things, it will look like a guy. So we don't want that. And I'm gonna have to give her some lipstick. And just, you know, as a general thing, when you're working on a sculpture, you want to turn it in as many different directions as you can. And the reason for that is you can, you know, see things with more of a fresh eye. And like right now I can tell one of the eyes is off a bit. And it casts shadows differently if you turn it upside down. If you can cast a long shadow on something, you can see, you know, where all the folds and things are. Let's see how this is. How will this look? I wonder. Yeah, okay. I might just change the angle of some stuff here. All right, well, I might just make the side of the face, put this side in more. I think it's not, the eyes aren't completely centered on the head, but I think that's also okay. I think that if it's too perfect, she'll look like she's looking directly at the camera, so I think having one side off a little bit is all right. Just gonna go around and make sure it's really smooth here. So are any of you out there digitally sculpting, or do you guys mainly stick to clay, or anybody have a preference about their technique? I have some friends on Facebook, and they're using some kind of a program where they digitally sculpt with like a headset, 3D goggles, and they can like turn their sculpture in midair, and they have these like looks like revolvers or something, like guns that they hold in their hand, and they press buttons on there, and they can move the model around and turn it, and like it looks like it's really in front of you, I guess. I don't know how well that would really work, but I've seen some impressive sculptures with that. It's almost like ZBrush, but I don't know what program it is. It's some virtual reality sculpting program. I don't know, like I said, I don't know much about it. I'm curious. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to add eyebrows as just little black pieces of clay here. Curious if anybody out there has tried that. What you guys think? Probably haven't. I mean, I think you gotta have a lot of money for that setup, but if I had the money, I'd like to see how it is. They've got like the Oculus Rift, I think they call it, and I don't know what the other ones are. I got some red clay for the lips, which are very small. I think I'll stick it on here and shape it here before I transfer it. Let's see. Okay, so we got these little lips transferred onto our character here. That'll work. And the eyeballs, which are black, I'm just going to add little pieces inside here. Oops. Which I can smush outward in these little holes I made. There's one. Is that you, Ethan? And so CB says, I'm no good at sculpting, so I took a 1/6 scale Hot Toys action figure and made a mold of it. Then I poured melted Chavant into the mold to give me a rough but properly proportioned human form. Then I smoothed and tweaked the sculpt to make another mold and ultimately a silicone cast puppet. That's pretty smart. I think Robot Chicken, Stupid Buddy Studios does that too. They use a lot of old toys and make molds of them, and they cast them and put, armatures inside. I think it saves them a lot of time to do that too. Okay, now let's give her some eyebrows. And I think she'll be done, technically done here. Don't want to give her like giant hairy eyebrows, but they had to be visible, of course. Anytime I work with really small stuff like eyebrows and things, I'll just take a tool like this X-Acto blade and just stick it in the clay, and it's easier than using your fingers in most cases. You just move it into place. Okay. Like this. And I'm not pressing these eyebrows on super hard, because if I do that, it'll be kind of permanent on the clay underneath. I don't want that. Alright. So I think one thing I want to do differently is make the eyes slightly larger. This. I think that's better. Maybe make the eyebrows higher and more curved. And in the future, I'll probably give her a nicer smile here. I think it's a little bit There we go. That was pretty good. Sometimes like little subtle things in your sculpture make a big difference. All right. And just to see what she'll look like. Let's put some clay underneath here so it's propped up a bit. And voila. So I might make a few changes to this. I think I'm going to round this off here. But I think for the most part she's done. And pretty close to our original drawing. Let's see. So we got a drawing and her here next to it. So for now, I guess that will conclude our live show for tonight. And so next Wednesday, we're going to work on the 3 little children that will be to her side for this particular shot that this puppet will be in. And that will be pretty easy to do, but it will require making molds and stuff because they're 3 twins. So Janet says Disney's planning to remake Jack and the Giant Peach. That's cool. I didn't know about that, Janet. I'll have to look that up later on. But anyways, that does conclude our show. And thank you for putting up with the technical crazy stuff that went on. And if you guys have any questions or comments, just make sure you leave some information below this video and I'll try to answer your questions. All right. See you all later.